Hey everybody, this is Professor Jason Snart. I'll be your instructor for English 1102 online in the second 8-week term here in spring. Thought I would just do a quick video. I do a whole bunch of these throughout the term, most of them actually capturing my screen so you can see kind of where we're at in the course or things that we're covering. We look at due dates, that sort of stuff. But thought I would do one up front here so you can sort of get to see me at least. And I can welcome you to the course. It's sort of an awkward start. You probably realize that we begin here on Wednesday is when the term begins when I'm recording this. And then we have basically just our first unit that we can get in, and then we have spring break. So it's sort of awkward. Many folks may want to work a little bit ahead. Spring break, other people may be, traveling or taking that time truly off. So because of the way that our course is set up, you really can't work too far ahead. So I wouldn't, honestly, even if you're motivated to do so, I wouldn't feel obliged to try to work a whole bunch through that spring break time, even though it seems really awkward to just sort of get going a little bit and then have to take a break. But that's the way the academic calendar kind of worked out this term. So a lot of our course depends on, is based around discussion boards in each of the units that we work through. So you're doing your own post, which you can do, but you also have to reply to others. So if there's a limited number of people who've posted, then you're kind of stuck with the reply thing. And I've seen oftentimes students work ahead posting things, but then they actually forget to go back and do the reply piece. So in an effort to work more efficiently, which seems to make sense, they end up actually costing themselves quite a bit of points because they just sort of forget to do certain things. So again, a bit of an awkward start because of the calendar, but don't feel obliged to try to make the effort to work forward throughout that spring break time. Take the time off for real. Okay, so I'm actually just looking at our course here. So you'll notice that the first thing that I'm asking you to do is look at a little orientation piece. So it has nothing to do with English 1102 per se, but is really more about how our course works, where to find things, how the units are set up, how we work through a series of due dates so it's not self-paced. Again, like I was saying, one of my goals is for students to feel like they're really part of a class. So you're interacting with classmates, obviously you're interacting with me. Again, the purpose of this video is that you know that I'm like a real person in an office here with my gym towel behind me, behind me that way, and all that kind of stuff. So often I think the online experience can be sort of isolating and you're not really engaged. You just feel like you're out there somewhere doing your own thing. And I'm just this faceless, grader somewhere, which isn't a great experience. I don't think people necessarily learn as much, and certainly the overall experience of the thing is just kind of mediocre at best. So I'm really committed to kind of being present for you guys, having lots of opportunities for people to interact with one another and share in sort of a class community experience. Not only is it just more fun, but I think it also helps people to learn better, which is obviously what we're here to do. A correlate to that then, and why the orientation piece, is that again, online, you don't want to be struggling with the technology or with the layout of the thing to figure out how to do stuff, so you're maybe not doing it as well, or you're missing assignments, not because you're not motivated to do things or because you're not understanding the content. It's just not very well organized, or you're not really used to how it's set up. So again, part of making it so that you can feel connected to the class is making sure that you feel comfortable just with the layout and with the technology. So before we jump into the content piece, again, I like to have people kind of explore the course a little bit, just so you have a sense of how things are laid out. Look at the orientation materials, which has a little walkthrough of our course, so you see basically, the setup, and also some reminders or information about being a successful online student. No real surprises here. Lots of stuff about time management, devoting enough time to the task. So if you figure a traditional, let's just say a 16-week course that's fully face-to-face, you're in the class for 3 hours per week, right? That's just class time. Forget about homework or any other ancillary stuff. So that's at least 3 hours per week. So you squash that into the 8 weeks, and now you're there for 6 weeks, or 6 hours. It feels like 6 weeks, I know. 6 hours a week, that's a lot. Like if you think about it, more than an hour every single day. So that's the time that you really have to commit to a course like this. And again, that's just class time. Forget about whatever you'd spend doing homework. So it's still fairly time intensive, even though it's online and a little bit more flexible. And truthfully, some weeks will be more intensive than others. So it's not just this like kind of, always 6 weeks or 1 hour every day or whatever. Did I say weeks again? Anyway. So yeah, it sort of fluctuates, but you can't expect to just devote 10 minutes here and there and get very much out of the course or do very well. A version of this, I think, happens when I can tell that people have gone into a unit and instead of working through the material, which would be like the equivalent of going to class, they just sort of scroll down until they find the thing to do and they think they're working really efficiently, they skip through all the other stuff, and then they do the quiz or discussion board or writing assignment or whatever it happens to be. And of course, very rarely do people do very well because, you basically haven't attended class. So the thing to keep in mind is obviously time on task and time management, but also every little thing that we do in the class, whether it's a 10-point quiz or a 300-point, formal essay, they're all ways that you can show me through a sort of assessment device if you have basically like attended class, if you want to put it that way. You've been in Blackboard, you've worked through the material, you've participated, you've engaged with the stuff, and now when it comes to assessment, even though it's not necessarily like a, Scantron bubble the thing in, it's still an opportunity to show me that you've understood and can now apply those concepts. So again, first of all, feeling like you're oriented in the class, you kind of know how things work, super important. We'll spend our first unit just doing some introduction, so again, not class content really, but just kind of establishing a bit of a community feel, which I think helps people feel engaged, and then committing to the time on task. So for this 8-week period, you're sort of committing to showing up to class, if you want to think of it that way. In fact, I even encourage people, and I know it sounds really simple, but it helps. For time management purposes, if you were to take a face-to-face class, you would be in the class for that time period, call it like 9 to 11 or 9 to 10, whatever the time period would be. So you wouldn't also schedule work or other kind of life responsibilities or plan to both attend class and get the laundry done or mow the grass or whatever, right? But for some reason people go online and they think, oh, I'll just sort of do the online stuff when all my other tasks are done, and of course that doesn't work because there's always something to do. Or I'll do the online stuff while I'm doing these other things, and again, it just doesn't work very well. So what I've found to be really effective for people is if they block out a certain period of time, every day, every other day, whatever works for your schedule, where this class is what you do. It's not just sort of threaded in between a whole bunch of other things or in addition to a bunch of other things that you're doing. Just like you would for that face-to-face example, you block out the time and say, well, this is what I have to do from 9 to 11 or whatever. The nice part about online is not that you don't have to schedule that time, it's that you can sort of schedule it within reason around what works for you, right? That's the flexible part. And again, like you'll see in our course, we work through a series of due dates, so it's not self-paced, it's not you wait and do it all at the end. We work through it sort of like a fully face-to-face class would. Okay, so I'll cut myself off here. Again, welcome to the course. Take some time to just sort of look around, get familiar with things, make sure you do the orientation piece, and then jump into Unit 1. In fact, part of the orientation is really asking you to look through our whole units list and our whole due dates list, so you have kind of that broader view of the landscape before getting too funneled into Unit 1. But you'll notice that Unit 1 is pretty straightforward. Like I said, just an opportunity for us to get to know each other a little bit. And then, awkwardly, we have spring break, so enjoy it. Don't feel obliged to work through the class or try to get way ahead. You may, in fact, cause yourself more problems than you'd save any time. So enjoy spring break, and I will talk with everybody again in what will feel like a long time for our class, but back after we come back from spring break.